What if I told you you can start farming with just 1,000? With the right crop selection as follows, using Mito, Managu, Spinach, and Jute Mallow. Now, let us be quick and dive to spinach farming. It's not magic to realize our target of starting with 1,000 shillings and compounding it to 25,000 shillings. Here is the trick. You need to be patient, you need to have a good planning schedule, and you need to be consistent. Now, spinach farming is very unique because it is easy to grow. People nowadays, they don't place them in nursery bed. They sow them directly. With 1,000, buy the seed for 200 shillings, buy fertilizer for 400 shillings, and then 400 shillings, leave it for other expenses. Now, after sowing your seeds, at 14 days, weed your farm, add fertilizer, and then start picking the first tender leaves at 21 days. At 30 days, you start harvesting. You will get up to 50 bundles, sell at 20 shillings, that is 2,000, and then you reinvest your money. You can harvest spinach for up to 1 year or even up to 4 years. That is an advantage for spinach farming. Now, for you to realize your target, you need to reinvest your money after getting it. When you reinvest it, you're going to achieve your target of up to 25,000. And you need to have discipline for you to do that. Now, for us to continue, let us jump to Jute Mallow farming. Jute Mallow is a quick, profitable crop with the fastest turnover, and it is loved by many, causing a quick and a high demand locally. This crop is very profitable in such a way that in most cases, a single plant goes for 2 shillings. Imagine one single plant of Jute Mallow, also known as MRENDA, going for 2 shillings. Now, because it is very expensive, it calls for more attention. You need to do this for you to realize enough profit. Number 1, after 30 days, you need to cut the shoot at the mid-center and then leave the entire plant to continue reproducing. And then, as I'm going to tell you later, you're going to also to form seeds, and these seeds are also going to sell it. Now, let us break down our 1,000 budget. With just 1,000, you're going to buy fertilizer for 400 shillings, seed for 200 shillings, and then 400 for other expenses. And then with that, you sow your seeds directly. Then after one month, they'll be ready to be harvested. And then, as I mentioned, after cutting the shoot at the mid-center, the plant is going to overgrow and produce other shoots. You're going to harvest multiple times before you turn into seeds formation. And for seed to form, you need to let it to overgrow. Then, after overgrowing, you be patient. Let the seeds to mature, and then dry, pick them. When they're dried, you pick them, and then you can store other for later use or reinvest back into the farm for you to realize our target of raising 25,000 from this piece of land. Now, in our case example, from just this harvest, because I told you that one single plant going for 2 shillings, in this case example, a small piece of land, like 10 by 10, can give you up to 5,000 from a single harvest. And after cutting the shoot at the mid-center and leaving the entire plant, you're going to also to harvest a second time, like 14 days later, then getting your 5,000, and then reinvest your money again. You can plant another one for you to compound up to 25,000. And then you can also improve our profit by diving into seeds formation. As I mentioned earlier, when you come back to forming seeds, that means you leave this plant to overgrow. Then they form seeds. And in our case study, we discovered that one single MRENDA plant, Jute Mallow plant, can form many fruits, many seeds. And when it dried, one plant can produce seed worth 100 shillings. You heard me. One plant can produce a seed or seeds worth 100 shillings. And you can do your mathematics. How many plants you have in this field? You have many plants, 1,000 of plants. So it becomes very profitable, because since this plant has a high demand, that means their seeds also is highly demanded, and no one will refuse to buy your seeds. Because if we do our survey, out of 10 Kenyans, 9 people prefer to buy Jute Mallow because it is very nutritious to their health. Now because you got that, let me remind you something very quick. Farming is not a one-day event. For you to realize your target, you need to build a system, and that system is built with patience, determination, and a goal. And our goal here is to realize our target of making 25,000 shillings. Now, because you have noted that, let us move to Mito farming. Mito is another unique plant because it has it offers a very big margin. It has a niche that has not been exploited, and it has less competition. Many people are going for sukuma wiki and other vegetables. They're forgetting this traditional unique vegetable. And the Mito is very profitable because in this case, one plant of Mito goes for 1 shilling. And Mito is very good because their seeds are very tiny. So in a small space of land, you can sow many seeds. You can even broadcast or you can make lines and sow your seeds, and there are going to be many plants, a population of 1,000 and 1,000 of plants. So if one plant is equal to 1 shilling, you can do your mathematics. From just a small space of land, you're going to make a lot of money. And for you to achieve, or rather improve your profit margin, you can decide to cut this Mito plant at the mid center, just as we did to Jute Mallow. Cut the plant at the mid center, leaving the rest of the plant and sell the top part. And then the remaining part will reproduce, forming other shoots, forming the side branches, forming the lateral shoots, and then we're going to have multiple harvests. And after doing these multiple harvests, we are going to at least realize our target. But this target is not going to be realized easily. You need to reinvest your profit. After cashing in, you also invest. And when you invest back, you do the same as we have said. Sell your crop, reinvest. Sell your crop, reinvest. And something good here, we're talking about starting with 1,000 shilling. Is a very small amount of money where you just use 200 shillings for seeds, 400 shillings for fertilizer, and then 400 shillings for other expenses like weeding or spraying against pests and diseases. And as I told you, when you cut this plant at the mid center, that means you cut the plant, you sell the top part and then leave the rest to reproduce. You won't form other side branches. Why am I reminding this? Because these side branches is going to help us later to form many network of branches that are going to produce seeds. And these seeds are going also to bring in money so that we can add up and make or achieve our target. And something that I want to remind you people or farmers that are listening to this video, Mito farming is a niche. It is a gap that many people have not exploited. Just less competition. In fact, I was looking for seeds before planning this plan, it was very impossible to source these seeds, because many people, they don't have enough seeds for Mito. So using this formula, you can start farming your seeds. You can plant, save your seeds, plant, save your seeds, and you can start your industry of seed production. Imagine combining an idea of producing seeds from Mito farming, producing seeds for Jute Mallow, and also producing seeds for Managu. You're going to make a lot of money. And in fact, you can form an industry from this just little gap. Mark you, there's something that I was about to forget, and that is very important in this video. If you skip this, you're not going to realize your profit. Remember, farming is an art and a science. That means for you to realize this target, you need to come up with creativity. The way you make your lines, the way you sow your seeds, the way you arrange your seeds, the way you display your garden. And the science part is the way you use manure, the way you use chemicals, fertilizer. That is the science part of it. And because you have understood that concept, let us move to another phase of producing seeds for this Mito farming, a traditional vegetable that is loved in Kenya and in East Africa. And for you to improve and at least reach our target of making 25,000 in 45 days, you need to make a difference in seeds production. As I told you earlier, when you cut this plant at the mid-center of the shoot, it's going to form other branches, and these side branches are going to pick it for resale. And then after you have exhausted the vegetative phase, you leave it to overgrow. When it overgrows, it's going to start producing our fruits, which in turn are our seeds. And at this phase, many farmers make a mistake, and don't make this mistake. And for you not to repeat what other farmers are doing, you need to follow me closely, because I'm going to explain to you something that is very important. For you to have good seeds, healthy seeds, quality seeds, you need to let your plant to mature. Let it to fully mature, and then pick the seeds when they are fully dried. And how do you know that they are dry? Because when the seeds are dry, they're going to turn into black, and then you can pick the black ones and leave the rest to continue drying. Using this method, you're going to pick the bright seeds with good quality, and because you got the right quality, you're going to exhaust your whole field, in turn sourcing enough seeds. And with these seeds, you need to dry them under a shade. This is very important. This is key. You need to dry them under a shade. It doesn't require direct sunlight. You need to dry them under a shade so that it can improve the seed quality. And then after doing all seeds preparation, you can now move to Managu farming. Managu farming is a non-profitable crop. Number one, it offers a consistent cash flow. It's a trusted plant. You know, Managu, it only requires like 35 days and you start harvesting. In most cases, it's just 3 weeks to 4 weeks when you have employed all the required inputs and you start harvesting. And in this kind of farming, there's not any debate, because we all know that Managu is needed locally. It has high market margin. In fact, there's something like a market euphoria for this kind of plant. And because I've done with that one, I want to beg you something. I want you to tell me what you find interesting in all for value crop. Which one will you plant? Please subscribe.